Move this out of the way, right? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back to all of you. Welcome back to some of you for the first time. I'm very happy that you're all here. See, I got my hair done today. What you know about this player? Um, got a new pair of shades. These are not they're not medical, they're for driving, but I'm missing my medical joints because they broke. But we are going to have a nice fireside chat. I went and got me a cup of coffee, so please grab yourself a cup of coffee. There's so many things that I want to discuss, and no format. We're just gonna have everything conversation style as we always do. So I've, dealt with a challenging week, right? Few things I need to get back in order. And I'm starting to feel like myself again, little by little things are coming and they're, you know, in the place where they need to be, or at least a little bit better. The last article of Future Tech Plus, I was able to discuss finding the best opportunities. And sometimes you have to create the best opportunities for yourself. So it kind of ties into what I want to talk to everybody about for today. Besides that, in the podcast on Voltron R1, which is on Spotify, and again, you guys just go on my LinkedIn. You guys can link up with me. Jonathan Martepena. I'm the artist known as Venom R1. Um, in the podcast, I spoke about trying to make things fit where they don't fit, and the need and the reasons behind why I was always trying to do that. And I've learned to, you know, get a little bit better at that. So let's talk about opportunities. Opportunities sometimes have to be created. For myself, I've always created opportunities for myself. Um, it's kind of always been like the theme of my life, making a cake out of crumbs, making things out of, you know, nothing. Hey, shout out to you, Morpheus. Always good to see you, man. Um, Morph, I don't have too much technical data stuff for today, but it's more like a spiritual breakdown. So just ride with me through this rabbit hole, right? So basically, sorry about that. Basically, I found myself in a bit of a funk because I was just trying to make everything perfect and everything like this and everything like that. And I've created a lot of distance with my loved ones because the relationships were toxic, they were very abusive, and I just learned to let people view things on their own accord. I had to create the opportunity for myself to even express that. And I gave myself permission to do it in the best way that I could, not necessarily for it to be um like formatted, you know? So part of that is growing up, part of that is reflecting and allowing things to grow and change naturally and not focus on anything else. The past 2 years have been the hardest in my life. As hard as my life was and always has been and will forever be, these past 2 years showed me so many things. And with my family, I was at the most vulnerable point because I realized that all I ever wanted was a family. All I ever wanted was love. So anybody that was close to me, I would just cling on and I just wouldn't want to let them go because they're all that I had. And I didn't have the maturity to be able to express that when I was younger. Like to just tell somebody like I appreciate you so much. I love you so much. It brings tears to my eyes of joy just to be able to say that. And I wish things could have been different. I wish that I understood this at different points of my life. And my growth came from separating myself from the people that I love the most, you know? And, it's, how can I say, like, I didn't have a biological family, and I'll never have that. But I still had a great family. Like, God really blessed me to put the most amazing people in my life, you know, as far as like the way that I grew up and things like that. And I take that with me. And if that's what God gave me, then I'm going to do the best with that regardless. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's it's one of those things like I was late to the party in understanding that. Not not late to the party in the sense of like valuing that because I always knew that it was something special. But I didn't realize that for the rest of my life, those were the best times, those were the happiest moments. And it could be the simplest thing. It could be making grilled cheese and, watching a movie or listening to music. Like, I'm very blessed to have that. With my loved ones, I think that I really scared them because I really just wanted the best and I just aspired to do so many things and it just drove them out of their comfort zone. It turned them off. It was like it was probably overwhelming for them. So that was my whole thing, and it's what I identified with because it's really like all I had. Like nothing was ever guaranteed for me in my life, right? So whatever God gave me, I held on to with dear life, and I would protect that at all costs. And even in the business realm, I saw myself clinging on to, business opportunities, really yearning for that family structure. And I never really had that. So I had to learn that, sometimes it is just a business or it is just an investment or it is just a product or a service. Like I had to learn that the hard way. I had to understand that eventually people would move on, even if we made millions of dollars. Like I thought that was the standard. Like, all right, we made a few $1 million together, so things are gonna be perfect, and it's just not reality, man. People disengaged and people disconnected, and time passed, and I had to grow up and I had to learn, and it hurts. But by externalizing it and by sharing it, hopefully it can help another person in a similar situation. And this is why I do this. It's not only a learning curve for me, as much as I learn from you guys, it's also therapeutic because I'm not bottling up all of these things that could be detrimental to me. And today was a perfect example of that. I got up really early. I had a really, really bad week that just passed. And I had a business meeting first thing in the morning. So, 72 hours prior, I'm sending the messages, text, yo, we're gonna meet up at this time. I realized looking back now, no response on Saturday, no response on Sunday, no response on Monday. Today is go time, right? Let's go have a meeting. I gave it about 3 hours, and I didn't get a any type of response. All right, cool. Let it be. Well, a few hours later, I just so happened to go to another business meeting, and I get a response. I think that the first business responded to me, not realizing that they were writing to me. So it's like God created a quick moment of like a clarity, right? Where that group of people didn't anticipate getting into communication with me, but God made it that way. So I said, look, I'm going to cancel this business meeting and I'm going to postpone this second meeting for tomorrow. And what I'll do is I'll wait to hear from you. Now, I've shown mercy and grace, right? Like I gave the 72 hours, which is standard in corporate America. Now, today, I've added an additional day. And I have no control of, you know, how that's going to be handled. All I can walk away with, right, is the fact that I really like tried my best. Like I gave it my all. Like, I did everything that I was supposed to do in the best possible way. You know, it's like in any relationship, walking away is difficult because we're humans and we have emotions, right? But when you go down to the meat and potatoes, if you know that you've given it your best, then there's nothing to worry about. Like I can walk away from the battlefield knowing that in my F-22 Raptor, I shot every missile, I fired every fucking bullet inside my turret gun. Like I did everything that I possibly could have done to assist, right? And win, lose, or draw, I gave it all. Like that's it, So reality starts sinking in. Me doing the market research for this investment, this is a real estate property. I see the true market nature. I see how it's like pretty much it's like depressing. There's no energy where this business is located. So automatically I know if I infuse energy, I'm going to take the whole market out of every single business in this shopping center or in this area, right? There's one business that has music. And psychologically in the subconscious mind, you want to drive through this shopping center just to pass by that business, just to hear a little bit of music because they understand something that most people do not. And guess what? It's the most successful business in that area. What do I want to do? I want to follow suit. If I'm going to take over a business in that area, and there's one successful business and there's one thing you can learn, which is something that I practice and I preach, is the energy. So what am I going to suggest? Yo, we need to bring energy to this place. Again, if these entrepreneurs don't have an open mindset to infuse that energy, I'm wasting my time. And there's no reason to involve myself emotionally because I'm a very loving person. Like if I love you with everything. There's no I love you a little bit or I love you less. If I love you with everything. If I'm involved in a business, in a franchise, in an investment, it doesn't matter if it's a small business or if it's a big investment. I'm with you 100%. And if that doesn't reciprocate, if that doesn't come back to my heart, then I know to take it as a good sign to walk away while there's still time. And this is what has happened. I really, truly believe God is the secret to my success. And I really feel like when people reach out to my company and I'm able to engage is because they really been praying. I'm really a religious person, right? As soon as they feel like they have God by the hands, as soon as they feel like they got it all figured out, God sends me away. And God takes me to another place where I need to be. And just that close today, my second business meeting, not only did I postpone it for tomorrow, which is cool because it's ready to go, right? But the proprietor of that business was having a business meeting. So of course I'm gonna respect that. I waited a few minutes and I said, look, I got the message, I got the response. I said, look, let me just postpone this till tomorrow. I know he's in the middle of a meeting, so I'm not gonna interrupt that. And if I'm gonna have a meeting with this person, I want the undivided attention. So it worked out. I winded up canceling two business meetings back to back, getting in contact with the first business, and then giving this person an additional time frame. Because for me, this is the end all be all. This is like proof right here. Like, if you don't write, if you don't reach out, if you don't capitalize on this last opportunity, I can't help your business. And I have to really walk away. I involved myself with a business franchise for so many years, and I had to look back at my past to see why I was so involved. And I was just coming from the petroleum business. So, of course, before that, I'm coming from the music business. And before that, I'm coming from the streets. So, my mentality is all twisted in different directions, right? So, for a person that has 27 wives, my view on love is not your view on love, right? So, there's so many things that I'm passionate about. And at that moment, once again, I was so vulnerable because, you know, uh, I wish it's for educational. So no, not yet, but in a little bit, yes. In a little bit, yes. Um, you know, oh, hey, my cash app is Venom R1 wins. That's all I got. Let me let me show it to you. We're gonna put it on the screen. Hold up. You know what my friends taught me? They said this is how you do it, right? They say if you want to buy me a coffee, this is how you do it. Let me see. Um, I forgot how to do this, but there's some way. Okay, there it is. Oh wait, let me turn down the brightness so the computer screen can pick it up. All right. Whoever wants to buy me a coffee, scan this barcode here. Yo, that is hilarious. And that's it. Freeze the frame and take a still shot. That's the best thing I got. Is Venom R1 wins at Cash App, right? It's for you super chats, right? So I have that in the back. Okay, cool, cool. I need to get new equipment. I started with this like many years ago, so I'm still learning a lot about this part of it. I know how the program works, like the coding, the behind the scenes of all these social media things, but the actual end user end, no. This is all new to me. I'm like still on MySpace, you know what I'm saying? Like in a little bit of Facebook. Matter of fact, this is in my books. Facebook, when me and my wife joined, we were in college, right? There were 34,000 people on Facebook. And that account is one of the original Facebook accounts and it's like frozen. But back to what I was sharing with you guys. So again, if you want to buy me a coffee, you go back, it's there. So, you know, in this business, I'm completely vulnerable, you know? And on top of that, these people were religious, but I'm of the belief that people that are religious are like people from the villages back home where my family's from, right? I didn't think that you had to be careful even with some of the people of the churches. For example, I have business partners that were very religious in church, but in business, they were ruthless. And I couldn't find the balance. I couldn't accept that. I eventually said, you know what? We just don't need to do business together because I just disagree with that. Like, if you're going to be a man of God or a person of God or belief, it doesn't matter what religion, be that in everything that you do, not just, in church. What about in the meeting in the boardrooms, right? So I went through that whole phase, man. Like, I took on so many battles with the family, the business, the investments, personal, professional. You know, I had over 25 employees at the peak of the company. And, psychology is my background. So, of course, I'm a doctor. People will come at me with all kinds of problems. And here I am going home at the end of the day, closing the business, but then I'm making myself available, right? I'm making myself available for all the employees, the staff, the stockholders, like anybody that needed my help, they knew that I was a phone call away. And it created more stress and more problems because it was a full time job outside of my investment. And I really cared for all these people, every single one of them. And one of my business partners was the bad apple, and it corrupted it. It destroyed the company. One person destroyed a whole company, man. I've read about things like that. I've heard about stories like that. I've watched documentaries and movies about things like that, but I never went through that myself. And the money that I made was not worth the hemorrhoids, the ulcers, the headaches, the stress, the drama, the nonsense. Like, it wasn't worth it. I got hemorrhoids from the stress, the drama, the nonsense, the arguments, the putting out the fire, you know. And I'll tell you how I got the hemorrhoids. In front of the business, there was this huge boulder, like a rock, like a structure. And I would just sit there stressing out. You cannot sit on a stone. This is not Dominican Republic for days in and days out and days in and days out. There was a lady from a business close to us that would tell me, yo, be careful. You're getting older. This is what happens. It creates a strain on your body. And what was the word that she used? It pretty much uh, like, I don't want to say, damn, I'm looking, what's the right word? It irritates certain parts of the body. It forces coagulation. It creates blood clots, but there's a specific word that she used. I don't remember the word off the top of my head. But all those years later, I have a heart attack. I go to the hospital. I start educating myself, on these things. Traced it back to that moment. Sitting there, stressing, worrying. I used to smoke cigarettes crazy back then, 2 packs a day. Not worth it. Not worth it. You know, I was averaging a little over 300,000 a year, about 10 years, made about $3.5 million. Not worth it. You know, it's hard to communicate with those people and pretending like nothing ever happened and everybody's moved on. But yo, reality is, man, like, That shit was painful, man. That shit was hurtful. Like, I think I walked away at the perfect time and it didn't feel perfect. I just knew I had this gut feeling that it would be the best thing for me. And looking back, I should have left even sooner. Maybe I wouldn't have my books. Maybe I wouldn't have learned as much as I was able to write in my books. Shout out to Kindle Direct Publishing. Once again, they're asking me for a bunch of stuff. I have to turn it in by May 7th. But you know, I had to learn the hard way, man. And I admit I'm very traumatized. I don't want to find myself in that same position again. When I'm sitting down with venture capital firms, private equity firms, my shields are all the way up. I took more than a week off from speaking to venture capital firms. And I don't see myself speaking to any VC firms until probably next week, maybe next Monday. Again, I have to check my schedules. I have other small businesses that I'm attending to right now. But it's one of those things like I cannot describe what I'm feeling for a person that's never at a loss of words. I'm very artistic, very creative. I do music every day, almost every day. And I'm able to express those emotions and feelings, even if they're not the best, because in my music, I give you everything. But this is like a moment in my life that I really cannot describe, fighting with cancer on all fronts, from, my wife to my aunt, me needing surgery myself, you know, the economic downturn doesn't really, you know, concern me as much because I'm in technology and technology always prevails. But as a human being, like I still have emotions, like I still have feelings, you know what I'm saying? So that's my that's my thing, like I can't really describe it any other way. But when I do gather the strength to connect, this is one of the best and most therapeutic ways for me to do that. What would be my advice for new entrepreneurs, regardless of business, industry, trade, product, or service? Create those opportunities for yourself. Be wary of the pitfalls. The downfalls are not always financial. Sometimes it can take a toll on you mentally, spiritually, psychologically, and emotionally. And do not think that all those things combine as one. Each one of those avenues is as equally as important because it puts everything into perspective. You know, this is not easy. This is challenging. Sometimes I try not to think about it. I can feel the acid in my stomach just by saying that. I can feel the ulcer, like stress, and that stuff is bad for you, man. So today was a day that just getting a cup of coffee felt marvelous. It felt like I feel like myself. Now I'm looking forward to doing the podcast. I know I'm going to do some music. I know I'm going to write another article, Future Tech Plus. That's my comfort zone. That's who I am. That's my thing. Like, I know you guys like the summer vibes, and I have some sporting clothing that I'm going to be wearing for performances and things like that. But overall, You know, I miss my business suits. You know, I miss the Rolex. I miss, not always having my military stuff. Like I miss being at the forefront of technology and of a balance in life, physically, emotionally, psychologically, and even mentally. The financial stuff is easy. Once you have those things in place, everything kind of flows free form, everything comes natural. But I learned the hard way from my childhood to different industries that I got involved with to this particular set of investments to dealing with my business partners to scrambling to find new business partners and having to jump through loops and hoops of fire to dealing with my family and cutting out the nonsense by saying, you know what, let me just go venture capital. Let me just go independent. Let me just do it myself. Still being afraid to reach out to people that are mentors and friends in real life and asking them for advice. I have a few friends that are billionaires. You know, I always knew that I could make one phone call. And I always made the decision if I'm ever going to make this phone call, it has to be a perfect phone call. There was a moment where I felt like I would know what to say. Today, I cannot say that because I am emotionally invested. So, the average venture capital firm, they want something crazy like a 20x return. So they want to give me $10 million so they can make $200 million. And people are driven to take that offer. I can't live with that. There's too many people that depend on me. In other words, I can't make the birthday party with $10 million. I can't make it with $1 billion. Nor am I going to put myself and my catalog in debt for billions and billions of dollars, even if it breaks records or not. I found people with political attributes at every step of the journey. And I didn't think that it would be like that. I thought that I was past that, right? For example, with the NFTs, right? When I spoke to expert or a consultant, they said not to go for the record because basically the records were set at the top of a bubble and things like that. To where I responded like, do we really need to have the cultural debate? A digital artist versus a musical artist when NFTs allow us the realm to be together as one, where my NFTs are both creative and artistic expression, but there's a part of my soul in every one of those songs, in every word, every pronunciation, every bridge, hook, whatever. So is this like an art battle? Like, oh, it's a painting versus a song? Like, do we really need to go there? I'm happy I can put a painting behind the song. You get what I'm saying? I'm happy that I can do that because music is completely different. That image, as beautiful as it is, cannot resonate with you, only with your mind. It doesn't take anything away from it. But music moves the soul. You have to be present and alive to feel what that song is delivering. You don't know what Da Vinci was thinking or feeling. You can only imagine, you can only speculate, right? You can feel what I'm saying in the song, how I'm saying it, when I said it, what are the circumstances, what style of music it is in. You can't compare that. But yet again, I'm reaching out to this person to hire this person to help me and assist me. as an expert that the VCs want to see, right? And this person is already entering the situation, not willing to challenge the record, not interested in being part of the project because they're not looking at the historical value. They're looking at the monetary gain, the short term success, but then reserving their true ulterior motives for themselves. They want to see if I'm able to break the record on the music side. That's like comparing the music industry to everything else. Just like I said, with feelings, thoughts, emotions, and you know, anything that goes on internally, it does affect everything, right? It is both one and the same. Conscious mind, subconscious mind. As a doctor, I can tell you that, but as an artist, the wiring, the neurons in the brain, completely different directions, right? So again, I find myself like, do I really need to have this debate? I just explained it to you. You don't know what Da Vinci was feeling or thinking, or Rembrandt, or Picasso, or Basquiat. All you could do is speculate. If I, you know, play my song, Answer My Prayers, you're gonna feel that song. That song brings me to tears, and I'm the artist that made the song. So, can you imagine how that translates to somebody listening to it? That's what I need to protect. My catalog is growing every day. I don't need to have a debate on the artistic side because there's 8,000 songs for you to, there has to be one that you like. You got to be the world's biggest hater not to like one of my songs or one of my albums or one of my EPs. Nor am I interested in having every fan in the world, just the people that love music. That's it. Few billion people that love music, those are my fans. But I'm finding this battle and this challenge on the venture capital side. Of course, people are not bringing these type of deals to a person like that. You already told me your whole mentality in one meeting. I'm thinking these people are the characters that they portray in the public. So I'm seeing this person in other interviews with other experts, right? And I'm thinking, okay, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, only to see, okay, this person wants the glory for himself. This person takes pride in what they're doing, but they're complacent. They don't want another touchdown. They're going to tell you, just like Al Bundy and Married with Children, about the touchdown in 67. They don't factor nothing else in. They're comfortable with what they're making. This is a person that didn't know this at the time. I was willing to pay this person millions of dollars under contract, guaranteed no matter what. I wound up hiring this person for a few $1,000s. And it clearly shows that you are not in the league that you're portraying to the public that you're in. You've gotten too big for your bridges. You did a few cool things, you let it get to your head, and you got complacent. You settled for less. I don't want anybody like that in my company. My company is built full of dreamers from inception, from design. If you don't have a dream, I don't want you close to my dream. You have nothing to live for. You're just there. You are a product and a beneficiary of time and space. You're not actively in this universe. You're just a character in the background. You're not one of the main characters. You're the character we designed to be crossing the street in the background. You don't care about being in the center of what's really going on. Do you think that breaking a World Guinness record is easy? Do you know that those records are available for anybody in the world to contest and to challenge? All the records are there. Run what you brung. It's available for everybody. But does that mean that it's easy? No, it does not. There's a reason why only a certain group of people pull through. They push that far into the matrix to be able to do that. I've broken thousands of records. I've established thousands of records. How do you expect my life to ever be the same? It will never be the same because I wanted the success that bad. I worked that hard to be where I am. Now I'm on cruise control. I have to be careful with what investment firms I reach out to. I've done everything like a southpaw. I'm Rocky Balboa. Most of the venture capital firms are the tech savvy ones, the ones that say we're going to disrupt uh, conventional financing. That's who I'm reaching out to. And guess what? They may understand a few things, but they don't understand all things. And that's the difference between a small investment firm and a huge one. Mind you, these people are coming at me with $500 million. $500 million is the maximum that they can put together, right? And all I can say to myself is if I ever get into this business, I'm going to blow you out of the water. I'm going to blow the seams in your welding very easily because, yeah, they may have closed a few deals that were worth a few hundred million, but that was it. Complacency, they peaked out. Imagine you today trying to start the next IBM, the next Apple, the next Berkshire Hathaway, the next Virgin, the next Sony, the next all these megalith, these titans of of thing, right? And you came at them with $500 million. They will laugh at you. They have $500 million in one computer system invested. How can you have a conversation with this company? The reality is that you cannot, because what you see as the end all be all, which is the fund, the trust fund is, a few $1 billion and 10% is 500 million. They have that invested in cell phones, in company vehicles, in corporate structures, distribution networks and chains, marketing and promotion campaigns. You don't even belong in the same conversation. Yet, here I am putting together this investment, looking for the correct investment, finding the best investment is better than having a million offers that are bad. One car that runs is better than 1,000 that do not. And when God is giving you the blessing to come across a unicorn, such as everything that I have, you're making the mistake of closing your eyes and ears and closing your hands and saying, no, it's impossible because of this, that, and the third. So then why are you portraying that you're aspiring for something greater than? Why not just be an insurance broker? I'm the best at it, at insuring, uh, you know, residential and commercial. Why not just be a consultant? I'm the best at real estate. Why not just be this? Why not just be that? No, that's not enough. Your ego and your pride needs to be fed by you saying, I'm looking for the next Google and the next Yahoo and the next Bing. But when it comes down to the meat and potatoes, it's really not who these people are. So not only am I vetting out venture capital firms, I'm vetting out individuals. My grandmother depends on this. My mother depends on this. My daughters depend on this. My sisters depend on this. My wives, my kids, my puppy, my fucking dragon, my little sharks, my goldfish. This is for everything. I owe it to them to dedicate as much time as I can to negotiate the best possible deal. This doesn't happen overnight. On average, these campaigns run about 36 months. You know how hard it is to remain strong for 36 months, knowing that at any moment that you're stressed out, you're going to be inclined to just say, you know what? Give me the fucking sugar coated poison. Give me the bullshit deal. Let me take a few $1 million. Because driving a 2015 Lamborghini Aventador is not good enough. I got to have a Revuelto, which is 3 times the price. So for one Revuelto, I'm giving up 3 Lamborghini Murcielagos. That means I can drive one and my brothers each could drive one. My pride and ego is so big, I have to go get a fucking Revuelto when I could just put 2 turbos on my Aventador and get the job done. When I can still live in a luxurious condominium high rise and wait until I sign the deal to buy the fucking building. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. Every time you're stressed out, you have to be careful because you can fall into the belief that money is going to solve it. So what do? You take the bullshit deal. But then what happens afterwards? What happens when, okay, you got a few $1 million. You bought a few Rolexes, some jewelry, nice cars, you're traveling, a lot of real estate, all the attention, all eyes on you. What happens 3 days later? It's all over. Now what? Now you have to deliver on those promises. You have to deliver on those contractual agreements. Can you imagine going on tour, working with a company that you hate, that you don't want to work with? How can you deliver the best to the public? How can you even meet those deadlines? Why don't you just walk out of the boardroom and get into your motherfucking LaFerrari Aperta and never have to deal with anything else? What makes you think that doesn't happen in corporate America all the time? That's exactly what happens in corporate America all the fucking time. And it gets worse the more successful people are because now they're not just getting in a cab or in a nice car, luxurious or performance. Now they're going and getting in a private jet. They're not leaving to the tri state area. Hey, mama, we're going to leave? So, how many minutes? Like 2 minutes? Okay, so let me end this. Right? Now people are going and jumping on a private jet. Where do you fit in to this entire discussion? Which character are you? What can you learn from looking at it from different points of views? What can you learn to build a better situation, better opportunity for yourself? Are you following the current of the status quo, the common consensus, the common belief, regardless of industry, trade, product, or service? Or are you creating your own avenues and your own lanes? I leave you guys with that. That's all the time that we have for today. I have to shoot across to the airport, but love you guys. Have an amazing day today. May you conquer everything in your path. May everything that you touch turn into solid gold and beautiful gemstones, such as moissanite and laboratory grown diamonds. Always remember to dream big because dreams come true. It happened to me, and I know for a fact it's going to happen to you. We'll be back. Once I get back from doing these few errands, we'll log back on for tonight. So, as always, love you guys. Morpheus, you're the best brother a person could ever ask for, man. And I got you with the SV. Don't worry. Holla at your boy. Peace out.